What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I haven't made a video in a couple of weeks. It's been a minute, but I want to give you guys an update as to what I am doing with my latest trading project. So make a long story short, I loaded an account with $1,000 and I'm trading option contracts, day trading, scalping option contracts. It's over $1,000 now. I've made about, maybe a 15% return since I loaded this account up last week. But I'm starting over in this account because I want to show people how I trade options. I want to show people the strategy of scalping options. So I'm closing out these contracts within minutes, usually, and always closing out cash at the end of my trading session. And so in this particular account, there's no overnight risk. I'm just trying to build up that cash account. The reason scalping, I think, would interest a lot of people is because, a lot of people have limited means, right? And, if you're somebody that has $1 million and, you can focus on investing or swing trading very big positions and getting these huge returns, that's a great strategy, but not everybody has that much capital, right? And so scalping, it's a great way for a smaller account, somebody with limited means, somebody with limited capital. It's a great strategy that somebody can use to sort of, build that capital, build that cash. Also, right, depending on your personality type, and maybe your psychology. If you're one of those people, if you're like me and you need, instant gratification in all areas of your life, scalping it can be very beneficial because it number one, it really fills that void to have something where you can have that instant gratification. But it will also fit really well with just the way that you naturally are. We hear a lot of the bigger traders say things like, let your winners run, or, always shoot for 2R or 3R, right? Or nothing. And a lot of this advice, though it may work very well in other strategies, I just have found that starting with smaller amounts of capital, $1,000, $1,500, you could even start with $500. These bigger trading concepts, these concepts that I would say are probably more suited for bigger accounts, they simply don't work very well when you only have a small amount of capital, right? Because if you take a position and you hold it overnight, if you're wrong and you wake up the next morning and you're down 20%, well, 20% in a $500 account or 20% in a $1,000 account, that's a lot of money, right? For that account, that's $200. That does happen, right? Even more than that. I mean, there's people that have taken trades. You see it all the time in the forums, on the WeBull comment section. People take trades and hold these option contracts or stocks overnight, these penny stocks, and then they're down 50, 60, 70% the very next day. So you definitely don't want to do that. Scalping seems to be a safer strategy if you can figure out how the option contracts work and how to trade them. You don't necessarily need to know all the mechanics, right? But I mean, you should know what delta and theta is. You should know what the gamma is. But none of that information really is necessary to actually trade the contract. Should you know about it? Yes, absolutely. You should definitely study the Greeks and at least know generally what they are and what they do and how they affect the contracts. But you're basically trading just like you would trade a stock, right? If you think it's going up, you're going to buy calls and you're buying, premium, hopefully, premium low, hoping that you can sell the premium for a higher price than what you bought it for, and then you make the difference. And then on the short side, right, if you think it's going down, you buy puts. And it's a lot easier because if you want to short stocks, which is in this market is very tricky, if you do want to short, trading options is a great way to be able to take the short side, because to actually go short with stock, I think you have to have like $25,000 in most brokerage accounts. And, if you're watching this video, you probably don't have $25,000. So that's why I'm making these videos, why I'm making this video, because there's people out there that are very interested in trading. They're very interested in options trading. I really do believe that scalping is the best strategy. It might fit your personality. It's a lot safer than holding positions overnight. There's no overnight risk, and you can actually build your account doing this. So I tend to get a little long-winded with these. Let's go ahead and jump into the charts for today, and I'm going to show you what I traded and just kind of, how I traded it. Okay, so the first stock that we're going to look at is actually Boeing. It's been months since I traded this stock, but we did have a supply zone. Let me go to a higher time frame so I can show you the supply area. Eventually I'll do a video about supply and demand, but basically it's a period of consolidation followed by a very big move to the downside. That had formed during pre-market. Let me actually add the line here. The supply zone had formed during pre-market. We were getting, some movement to the downside, but then right at the open, it rejected, as you can see, and we got a huge drop. So going into the 1 minute time frame, which is what I usually trade these option contracts on, I'm usually looking at a 1 minute. Of course, I'm looking at other time frames. The way I'll do it is I'll have like a what I call the flexible grid here. It'll have multiple stocks that I'm looking at in higher time frames, maybe the 30 minute, maybe the 15 minute, maybe the 5 minute. And then if I see something that I like, if it's approaching one of my zones, which is, the supply zone or demand zone, that is where I want to be active, is when I see it either reject, some response from a zone there. I try not to trade too much in between the zones, but this trade is a little bit in between the zone. But anyways, when I see something on a higher time frame, I'll then zoom into the 1 minute, and if I like what I see, maybe I'll take a trade. So as you can see, we rejected supply. The supply zone's right up here. We rejected supply. We didn't have a whole lot of volume for the second candle and the third candle, you can see, but then we really started picking up selling pressure, right? The volume was increasing, and that was a very strong move. So we're now under VWAP, right? VWAP is this yellow line here. That's the volume weighted average price. I use VWAP. I trade off of it sometimes. My charts are completely naked except for the VWAP and the supply and the demand zones. I don't use moving averages or anything like that, or RSI. None of that for the scalping strategy, because you have to have a scalper's mindset, right? If you're going to scalp, you have to be able to make decisions very fast. And if you have too many indicators, it can kind of jam you up when you're trying to make a decision. I'll note this too. I'm also using the SPY, the NASDAQ, the VIX, the dollar. I'm using the TLT, right, the bonds. I'm using these as indicators as well, right? Because the only thing that really matters to me is the price, the volume, and just the general market consensus, right? Well, what the overall market is doing. The RSI, the MACD, that might work for other strategies, but for my scalping strategy, I have no time for that. So I'll show you what happened here. Obviously rejected at supply, and then we rejected VWAP, right? So on a 1 minute chart, you can see how, we've got these topping tails at the VWAP. So that told me that buyers were not interested, right? We didn't have green volume picking up. So I knew we had heavy supply above. We were rejecting VWAP. That was my confirmation to take a trade. So I loaded one put contract. It was the 245 put. All right. And I bought it for $2.13 per share, which was a $213 contract. And I ended up selling that for $234. And so what I like to do is just catch the quick move. You can see this topping tail. I entered right here, and boom, pretty much at the bottom of this candle here. Once we kind of started finding a little bit of support, that's when I got out. So, that was quick. This green candle right here, I'll draw like a circle on it. All right. That green candle right there, that was my entry as soon as it closed. And then my stop loss obviously would have been the high of that green candle, because you got to have a stop loss. Do not hold on to these losers, right? You're just going for quick moves. And if it's not going your way, you got to get out, right? So this trade was less than 3 minutes, and I was out of it. Now, granted, it was only a $20 gain. I think it was $19.90 is what I made on this trade, with a options trading fee of 55 cents in and 55 cents out. You got to consider the percentage gain, not only for my account, but also for that particular trade, right? On, $213, you're making $20. It's not bad. All right. So then the second trade was also on Boeing. We had a little bit of consolidation here, so I figured I'd try to catch another quick move to the downside. I got in a little bit early, right? I was a little hasty. I thought this could have been maybe like a 3-bar play where you had the, bearish engulfing red candle with a couple of candles to the side, and then boom, right? I was expecting maybe another big move like that, but that didn't happen. But I did enter on this green candle here. We did, kind of top out here, but we immediately were rejected, right? So it was obvious to me to stay in the trade because buyers were not interested. And it took a little bit longer for this trade to play out, but as soon as it did, boom, one candle, and then boom, this candle, we found support, but this is where I sold, right? We found a little support there, and I was glad I got out because I do think I sold closer to the bottom of that green candle. Now, in hindsight, oh, by the way, that was about $14.90 I made on that trade. Right, that contract was $234, and I sold for $250. The first contract I exited at $234, and then the second contract I entered at $234. So I could have just bought at $213, right, and then sold at $250. Or in hindsight, right, this move was pretty big. I'm sure there were people that had the capital to risk their contract and catch this whole move. But the thing is that we really have no idea when these stocks are going to reverse. And, Boeing eventually did reverse. Granted, it kind of chopped around a little bit, but we have no idea when these stocks are going to reverse. So in my experience, it's just best to catch a quick move, right? It doesn't have to be, a real long trade. I'm not looking for 100% gains or whatever. If I can make 10%, 20% on my trade, that's pretty good, because at any point in time, these stocks can reverse on you. And when they reverse, it can get ugly, especially if you're not psychologically ready to just take the loss, right? I mean, losing sucks. Being wrong about a trade sucks. I'll admit it, right? I've had a lot of psychological issues in my, trading experiments here with just admitting I'm wrong and getting out. I'm now in a place where I'm I'm improving on that a lot. This is what I'm going for, is these quick moves, right? Sometimes I have to wait maybe a couple of minutes, and then boom, boom, the trade plays out, and I just get out. In hindsight, yeah, I could have held for a bigger move, but that's hindsight. We don't know. Nobody knows what these stocks are going to do. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too on this was VWAP was also trending down, which is another, when I got in on the second trade here, when I got in on that green candle, I was getting a little bit squirrely because it looked like it was trying to, reverse and get up above VWAP. But it did not, and the VWAP was going down, right? It was trending down. So that was the reason why I held for, 4 candles before that fifth and sixth candle where I finally took my profit. And then the third trade of the day, right? So we're up, $35, all right? The third trade and the last trade of the day, and I'll talk about, the last trade and, over trading and why I only take 2 to 3 trades. But the next trade here was right here, all right? So I entered right around here. It was probably this candle or maybe this candle here. And people are going to see this and they're going to be like, wow, you sold way too early. You could have caught a bigger move. But, again, we have no idea when these stocks are going to reverse. For me, just in my experience, it's been better to take the quick moves. So I entered around this area. Okay, and I entered a call contract. The reason I entered calls is because Square has been very, very strong. We did have a supply zone, above here, but we were really supported by demand. You also had VWAP generally trending up. We were kind of trading in a range, right, on Square today. But Square kind of did this double bottom thing, right, where we had this big, long rally, didn't quite hit supply, but it did sell off a little bit. But if you look at the retracement, right, this is about a 50% retracement from this bottom right here, right, which is a very good sign that that's probably just a minor pullback. And then it did sort of this W pattern, maybe like a double bottom pattern, in the context of a 1-minute chart. This kind of looks like a double bottom a little bit. I figured that this was a pullback. The sellers were not very strong. You can see there wasn't a whole lot of, selling volume. If anything, the green volume was getting bigger than the red volume. So I figured that I would take advantage of this double bottom and at least try to catch a couple quick candles up. And that's exactly what I did. So I entered a call contract. It was the 270 call. And these are all the contracts expired on Friday, but I'm scalping. It doesn't even matter. I will trade same day option contracts, like on Fridays, or with the SPY, you can trade Monday and Wednesday contracts. I'll trade the same day expiration all the time because I'm scalping. I'm not, trying to hold these too long. So I entered for $230 and then I exited for $242. It was boom, boom, And I figured, hey, I was a few bucks up. I think I made about $11 on that trade. I went ahead and took it, right? Because again, yes, did I miss the bigger move? Yes. In hindsight, you could have made, right, $400 on that contract, right? I think these contracts had reached, I don't know, $500 or $600. And does that sting a little bit to look back and see that, if you had only held, you would have had $400, $500 off of that trade? Yeah, it does sting a little bit. But, more times than not, I have held way too long only to end up being a part of a pullback. And I do not want to be a part of any pullbacks. And these are the quick moves that I'm looking for, right? Where there may be some better setups like this one right here. That you could say that's probably a little bit of a better setup. I was concerned because, VWAP, yes, it was trending up, but it was a little flat as well. Like if you look at Boeing, the reason I kind of left and didn't trade Boeing anymore today is because after I caught my couple moves, VWAP just sort of flattened out. And yeah, I guess you could scalp some of this stuff, but when the VWAP is flat, that pretty much means the stock is done, right? It's just going to sort of chop around. But going back to Square, I caught a quick move here, and altogether that was it was a little under $50. We can see right here, $45.61. But in the total account value right now is almost $1,200, right? We're about $19 away from $1,200. And I started with $1,000 last week. The dollar amount, even though it looks small, right? $45. I mean, it's really not that small, though, if you think about it. First of all, I was done by, let's see, what time was this? This was 11:05, right? So I made almost $50 between 9:30 and 11:05. Granted, my work isn't done. I also have to log these trades and make sure I'm keeping really good records. I got to screenshot them and journal them and share them on social media. But the point is that, there's not a lot of other places where you can just make $50 within, an hour or two. And even though the dollar for trading, this is nothing, right? There's people that make $4,000, $10,000 a trade, right? But for my account size, this was a 4% gain in the account. Like, let's see. Square is up 1.3%, right? Let's see the SPY. How much is the SPY up today? The SPY is up 0.04%. So technically speaking, my account value, I am outperforming the market and I'm outperforming the equities that I'm trading, right? So it's not the dollar amount that I'm focused on. It's the percentage gain, it's the consistencies, and it's the process. Focusing on money, that's a recipe for disaster. When you start thinking, I want to make 100 a day, or I have to make a certain amount every trade, that is a recipe for disaster. I know that from experience. And so a 4% gain in my small little account, I've got to take that and walk the fuck away. Pardon my language. But the other thing too is, I have a tendency of really over trading. And even though I wanted to take more trades, right, there were clearly some other setups, right? I could have shorted this rally into supply. That would have been a nice move, and look how far Square went on today, right? If I had held my contract at the end of the day, let me just see where these Square contracts are. That was the 270. So the 270 was like $400 by the end of the day. Right, I sold it for $242. Right, so if I had just held all day, in hindsight, that could have been a much bigger trade. But the point is that over trading will kill your account very, very easily. It's very easy to give this money back. It seems kind of easy when you're doing it and you're like, oh wow, $20, $30, $50 on the day, right? I can do this. But it is very, very easy to give 100 back, 200 back. And especially if you're just not, I'll keep it on the eye. I've been in psychological states or places where, for whatever reason, maybe it was shit I still haven't worked out, from my past, but I just could not admit I was wrong on a trade, and I let it go 20% against me, 50% against me. And by, the end of the day or the end of the week, I'm down 80% on my trade, on my account, right? I've done that a couple of times. So it's very, very important, in my opinion, to, especially if you have a small amount of capital, to focus on scalping, to really catch these quick moves, right? You're just going for a couple of candles, go for the percentage gains, don't focus on the dollar gain, and focus on your consistency and focus on the process. So, if you enjoyed this video, if you have any questions, just leave me feedback down below in the comments. Let me know, what other things I can talk about to sort of help you understand what it is I'm trying to do with my scalping strategy. Do you scalp? What kind of equities or assets are you trading? Comment down below. Always enjoy hearing back from you guys. And thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. I do have a new Instagram account as well. You can find that in the description. Go and follow my Instagram. I post all of my trades. You can follow my Imager too if you want to follow the trades that I'm taking. I post them every single day right after I take these trades. So let me know what it is you're into. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, until next time, God bless.